Hey, Sugar, which way is catering?
With Justine and Bruce. Served up by Variety Attractions celebrating 60 years of entertainment excellence.
This is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. Have you ever had a job that was dangerous, where you were literally like risking your life for said job?
Yes.
I'm not talking about delivering waterbeds.
Okay, then no.
Like where you're actually, like shit, I could die today.
Selling beer at the stadium? I could die today.
Delivering Lay's potato chips?
Yeah, I could eat too many hot Cheetos.
Ew. That just sounds like a belly explosion.
Now
Hot Cheetos and soda?
Now that's catering. Hi, welcome. We have jelly donuts, grape soda, and hot Cheetos. Welcome.
I would take none of that. I would eat none of that. Well, welcome to another episode of Which Way Is Catering with Justine and Bruce.
And it's served up by Variety Attractions, celebrating 60 years of entertainment excellence. And today on our podcast, we've been waiting to talk with this guest for a while. Grammy-nominated artist, personable, everybody loves him. He's got a song list. It's really a great pleasure to talk to you. And we have Trace Adkins today.
Good morning, or evening, or whenever this is.
Good day.
Yeah, good day.
You know, I just want to say right off the top, Which Way Is Catering? That's a great title because that's probably the question that you hear the most from band guys and crew guys. And, that's the first question that everybody asks when they get off a bus in the morning. Which way is catering?
Yeah, and then, Trace, I'm sure the other question is, where's the bathroom?
Yeah. Which way is catering usually comes first.
Yeah. But, well, thank you for that, because that was our whole point of the title and kind of what our podcast is about. So thank you very much. I wanted to start off our podcast with, I'm going to mention a name, and then you kind of tell me what first comes to mind. The name is Variety Attractions.
George Moffett.
Yeah, I'm sure you have stories of George Moffett and Todd Bolton, and if you could share some of those with us, that'd be great.
Well, George Moffett, first of all, when I first met George, I was just like, oh my God, he could have been my granddaddy's twin brother. I swear. He looked just like my mama's daddy, and it was amazing. So, I had, an affection toward him from the very beginning. And, I doubt there's anybody, I'm sure you guys could check the numbers, but there's probably not hardly any artist that's done more Variety Attraction shows than I have. I mean, I tell people in that Rust Belt corridor where they were so dominant for so many years and still are, I have played every county fair in that entire region of the country, for Variety Attractions. And it's just been an awesome experience. And I owe so much to George and Todd and Variety Attractions, all the good people there. It's just been wonderful over the years, the association and friendship that I've had with all those people. And I've got stories. The first time that I got a bonus from George after a show, because we had a good show and the crowd, it was full, and this was very early in my career, and George came up on the bus with a cardboard box full of hamburgers. You did a good job tonight, Trace. I just wanted to give you guys, brought us a box full of hamburgers. And that, George was old school, and I got after him for a long time. I said, George, you got to write a book, and I just kept after him about it because I thought, I mean, the stories that he could tell about artists that are legends, that he worked with many, many years ago, decades ago, and I just thought it would have been a fascinating story to tell.
Well, that's great. I know when Todd talks about you, I think you are in the top three as
Mm-hmm.
far as working with Variety Attractions. And Todd mentioned early on in your career, he had a couple stories that I'm sure you can tell us, but you guys were having a good time on the road.
Back in those days, I played clubs for a lot of years before I got a record deal, and it took me a few years to get that out of my system, you know. Uh, so, yeah, I continued to conduct myself that way a little bit for a few years.
One thing because I met you for the first time when I started at the Wisconsin State Fair back in 2006, and I met you at our main stage. And then actually, Justine and I are going to be working with you this summer in a date in Wisconsin called Gathering on the Green. So we'll see you in July. But
So,
starting off, I mean, you're a pretty menacing, solid dude. I mean, how did you kind of go into singing and songwriting?
it was just, I started singing bass in a gospel quartet when I was 17 and did that for a few years because that was the first door that opened for me. Started singing in church when I was a kid. And um, so, I started singing bass in a quartet with a group of just local guys there. And, but I, you know, was playing guitar and learning all those songs off all my daddy's country records. He had a pretty good collection of all the greats. So on Saturday nights, I would take my guitar and go around to little local hay rides and jamborees and, get up with the house band and do a few Haggard tunes or whatever. And so it was just a hobby that, got horribly out of control. I mean, I say that kind of jokingly, but it's true. I am a person that has been blessed in this life to be able to earn a living doing something that began as something that I just love to do and did it for the pure pleasure of it. It was a hobby, and so I'm fortunate in that way. And then that led to playing clubs in Texas and New Mexico, but did that Southwest circuit, all those dance halls for a few years, and then moved to Nashville to throw my hat in the ring. And that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of how it all happened.
After being so great at your hobby and making such a great career out of it, I mean, do you ever look back and think, "Oh, if I would have taken a different path, where would that have led you? If you could have done something else, what would that have looked like?"
Well, I'd still be working in the oil field. I worked in the oil field for 6 years before I started full time touring with a band in Texas. And I worked on land in production for 3 years, and then I went offshore and worked on a drilling rig for 3 years and met some people out there who had a country band in Lafayette, Louisiana, and got hooked up with them and would play down there on my weeks off. I'd work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So on my weeks off, I'd go play with them. And that just escalated to the point where I, took a leave of absence from my job offshore and played clubs in Texas for about 4.5, almost 5 years, and got burnout on that, and then went back to work on a drilling rig in the Gulf of Mexico. So if the music thing hadn't worked out for me, I'd still be working in the oil field. I enjoyed it.
I think you're the only person I've ever heard say that.
Why did you enjoy it? Was it the
Well,
money?
there was a certain machismo that when I was working on a drilling rig in the Gulf of Mexico, it was considered to be the second most dangerous job in the United States,
Yeah.
only behind hanging steel on high rises. That was the only job that was considered more dangerous. And, you know, we got into some hairy situations several times out there. I mean, I got scars on, to this day. You know, I cut one of my fingers off, and so that's, you know, a lot of people know about that. My little finger on my left hand is just stuck in a hook, you know, because I got it cut off and they put it back on, and I told them to, you know, they said it wasn't going to work and they were going to have to fuse the joints, and did I want it straight or how did I want it? And I said, you got to put it in the sus position. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, curve it like, I showed him with my right hand. I said, curve it like this so that I can suspend, you know, the E string on the D chord. You know, I mean,
Oh my goodness.
might as well just cut it off if you don't do that. I mean, straight, it's not going to do me any good. Just whack it off. But put it in this position, I may be able to still use it on the guitar. And he did, and I can. You know, there's some chords I can't make, some bar chords I can't reach up the neck with my little finger, but you know, it still works a little bit, and so I can still play some. And but it just, you know, and then there was that brotherhood out there that you know, these people that you basically live with for half your life, half the time, you know, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You know, you get to know these people, they become like brothers to you, you know. And it was kind of a team sport, actually. Each crew was trying to outdo the other one, and it was just, I don't know, I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole thing. And there was still that opportunity for somebody who hadn't graduated college. I did go to college for a couple of years, but I didn't graduate. But there was a place that a man without a college degree could still work himself into, you know, at least a six-figure income, you know. And it was just a great place to work. I enjoyed it.
So, other than the oil rig and being a country superstar, what are your other interests?
Well, you know, when I'm home, like now, you know, I'm working. You know, I'm going to be working today. I'm out here on this place that I've been on for 20 years now, and there's always projects and things that I'm doing. And, you know, I've been, you know, cleaning woods up for almost 20 years now, and it's a never-ending thing, and always doing dirt work. And you know, I've got toys that I play with, you know, backhoes and tractors and, you know, saws and dump trucks, and it just, you know, I'm just always busy doing that. You know, it's weird, you know, my job is my hobby, and my hobby is actual work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure the grandchildren are too.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I enjoy them and my five daughters, and and that's the main reason I do what I do out here, because I want them to have a nice place to hang out, enjoy, you know, nature, and get outside and have a place where they can ride their four wheelers and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and fish and learn how to hunt and everything.
You're putting them to work out there? Raising barns with you?
You know what? They're all still too little to
Ah,
be much
gotcha.
use.
Hey, I hear that.
But just give them a few years, they have no idea. You know, they are destined for a life of indentured servitude.
Yeah, there's a grandpa honeydew list already started,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. They have no idea.
Listening to you for so many years, Trace, I've been a big fan for a long time, and you have so many songs that are like hit after hit after hit after hit. And is there one in your mind that's kind of like that career defining song for you?
I would have to say, even above uh, honky tonk badonka donk, this ain't no thinking thing changed my career trajectory. And I don't think it was just necessarily the song, it was the video that really,
Mm.
you know, that, you know, it was game on after that video came out. It completely changed everything. And so I would point to that song.
And you say videos, and I mean, every video for your songs, they're hilarious. I mean, they're like a show in itself. Are they as fun to film as they are to watch?
We do. I've always had fun doing videos, and even the serious ones. You know, it's always been an enjoyable experience. I've been fortunate to work with some of the best directors in the business, and it's always been a pleasant experience.
When you are working on the set, whether there's, you know, it's a video, a movie, what have you, are there like experiences that are similar from being on the road as a touring artist and doing things kind of behind the scenes on a video set or movie set? Are they similar?
Yeah, they are, of course, because I mean, the similarities are obvious to me. I mean, when you're on stage, you're surrounded by these incredibly talented people, and I'm talking about even the crew people, the people that run the sound and tune the guitars and all that. The crew guy. I mean, these are talented, creative people, and they work in a creative business. And of course, the band guys that I'm surrounded by on stage are incredibly talented, world-class musicians. So it's much the same. When that's what I tell people all the time when they, what is it about? Do you enjoy acting and all that stuff? Of course I do, because it's also like being in the studio. When you're in the studio recording a new album like we've been doing for the last year, you're surrounded by incredibly talented, creative people, and it's a stimulating environment. Well, movie sets or television sets are the same way. You're surrounded by incredibly talented, creative people, and there's just that atmosphere that I find invigorating and stimulating. And so I enjoy it. Anything that gets those creative juices going, it's something that I'll be willing to sign up for most of the time.
Now, Trace, you were very kind to compliment us on our title of our podcast, Which Way Is Catering. Now, when you show up at a movie set, video set, venue, and you're finding out which way is catering, when you go to catering, I mean, what are you? Are you like a jelly donut guy? Are you the veggie tray? Are you the, where's the hunka roast beast?
You know what? I'm pretty much all of the above. I'll just graze. I'll just graze until I'm done, and then move on. But there's very few foods that offend me. That's a pretty short list.
Well, that's great. I'm a huge jelly donut guy, so now I feel much
Well,
better.
Yeah, sure.
When you look towards your future, do you see your acting career, like, do you like it so much where it would kind of not overshadow your singing, but do you see yourself getting more into that than you have been in the past?
That's totally dependent on the opportunities that come along. In other words, I'm not gonna move to LA and go out for auditions every day and actively pursue it that way. Now, if an opportunity comes to me, that's a different thing. But so it just depends. I'm just saying, if that opportunity were to come along, I might, apply more of my time to that. But it's just going to have to be an opportunity that comes. It's not going to be something that I go out there and actively seek out. But if that door opens, I might look at stepping through it. I don't know. But I have no plans of ever. I mean, as long as I feel like I can go on stage and still perform up to what I feel like is a good level of, as long as I can still sing. I mean, as an old jock, I'm a realist. I understand there will come a point where, this muscle in my throat is just like every other muscle in your body. At some point, you're going to start getting diminishing returns, and it's not going to work the way it used to. I had to quit playing football when I was in college because, I had torn my knee up, and it was just, I was spending 30 minutes a day on the training table getting wrapped up just so I could go practice,
Mm-hmm.
and it just got to where I wasn't playing at 100%. And so I can't continue to do this. I'm not going to make it to the next level this way anyway. So, and that's kind of the way I am with singing. At some point when my performance doesn't satisfy me, then I'll probably walk away.
With your movie career, is there a actor, actress, director that like your dream to work with them? I mean, it might never happen, but maybe it might. I mean, do you ever think about that?
Well, sure. I mean, everybody that uh, delves into that arena, you know, of course, you would love to be on a Spielberg film someday or something like that.
Yeah, I could see you as a master Jedi.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Yeah, but, of course, there are, those iconic actors that I'd like to have a chance to just be in their presence. And I've had those opportunities with some of those folks, and it's just been pretty incredible.
Any of those opportunities of working with, the countless wonderful people that you have you ever had a time where you're sitting in a room and all of a sudden you're starstruck? Like, oh shit, I am in the room with so and so.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A few times. I remember, when Bruce Dern told me, I'm the only guy that ever, I was the first guy that killed John Wayne in a movie, and you were just like, whoa, you know, that's heavy,
Yeah, yeah.
and meeting, Robert Duvall, I was just dumbstruck. I couldn't hardly even speak. I didn't know what to say to the man, just other than, I'm a huge fan. And other than that, I just didn't know. I thought anything else I said might just sound idiotic. So
So
there have been a few people that have just, knocked me for a loop like that. Ray Charles was another one.
music wise, have you been starstruck? And then you mentioned Ray.
Oh yeah. I mean, the first time I met Merle Haggard, I just kind of stood there and stared at him for what was, an awkward extended period of time.
Were you looking into his
and
eyes?
Buck Owens,
Pinching yourself.
well, and he was looking at me like, with that expectant look on his face, like, well, are you going to say something, or, so, but then I got past it finally.
Yeah.
And he was always super kind to me. Every show that I ever did with Ag, he was always awesome to me, and I just cherished those times. But there were a bunch of those guys that affected me that way. Buck Owens was another one. I really enjoyed the friendship that I had with him over the years, and being a member of the Grand Ole Opry, I've gotten to meet pretty much all of the legends in this business, and the only one I missed was Johnny Cash. He was the only one that I missed, but I think I checked the boxes on all the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. We'd like to talk to you about collaboration and good friend Blake Shelton. You guys have some awesome duets together. Tell us about your guys' relationship and your songs, and if you guys plan on working together more in the future. I know you guys are touring and
Yeah, I guess that tour's going to happen this fall. They've still kind of been, it's not 100% whether or not we're going to do it. So I don't know. I'm just waiting, like everybody else, to hear whether or not we're going to go. But I got a new album coming out this year, and Blake and I did a song together that's going to be on there. it's one of my favorites that we've ever done together. It's a song that I wrote with my dear old friend Kenny Beard and Jeff Bates, and it's called "If I Was a Woman, I'd Love a Man Like Me." And Blake and I sing it together. It's pretty funny.
Why do you guys just kind of gravitate toward each other?
We're just, I don't know. We're just cut from the same cloth. Where we come from, the way we grew up. It's really uncanny. Just how many similarities there are in our personal lives. Just the way that we operate. Things that we enjoy, and we kind of have the same kind of twisted sense of humor, and I don't know, somehow it just works. And we knew that early on whenever we toured together in the very beginning, back when Blake was opening for me,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that was a long time ago.
That's when he had his Kentucky waterfall mullet, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I have to say, I bust out the term hillbilly bone very often. Because everybody's got one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I remember Blake, like 2007 or 2008, I worked with him, and I was working at a fair, and I showed up the next morning after his show. Blake's bus was still backstage, and I thought, did their bus break down or did something happen? And they said, oh no, they just got back early this morning, so they're just kind of sleeping for a bit. I'm sure you remember
Blake.
times. I'm sure you remember times like that, right, Trace?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Blake will make you stay up all night on occasion.
To talk or what?
Yeah, he just, sometimes he just gets in one of those moods and gets rolling, and, you're going to have to, leave to, to get any sleep. If you stay there, you're going to be up all night.
Many days on the road, many venues. Do you have and you can talk about it or pick one out of your memory bank. Did you ever have like a nightmare meet and greet situation happen? Kind of like your awkward moment with, Merle Haggard, just kind of looking at each other and whatever. But did you ever have any just kind of nightmare instance during a meet and greet?
I don't think so. Not that I can recall where it was just where I ever felt, intimidated or scared for my health at any point. That
Well,
would
I
be
mean,
one
were
of the
there
things
were there a couple overserved females that
Oh, of
were?
course, yeah. I mean, that's happened a lot, but it's never been anything that I couldn't handle. I mean, I'm not one to hold people responsible for some suggestive language when they're inebriated.
Yeah.
I've had I've had some ladies politely ask if they could grab my butt. Sure, get you some. Go ahead. It's not going to hurt me. There's my wife over there. She won't mind.
Trace, have you ever had one of your fans give you a gift that was a little odd?
Yeah, sure. I've gotten some strange gifts over the years. I don't want to name anything in the event that they may be listening, but
Sure.
yeah, I've gotten some strange stuff.
Yeah, because we were talking with some of our guests and things came up like voodoo dolls.
Yeah, someone got a voodoo doll once made of
just like,
them.
Hey,
No, I've never gotten a voodoo doll. That might come in handy, actually.
I'll see if I can whip one up for you, Trace.
when you guys are on the road, tour bus, that type of thing, do you guys have, or do you have any pre-show rituals that you guys do?
No, I don't, and we actually make fun of those people that do. It's no, we've been doing this a long time, and if we don't know, and if we still have to pray to the music gods before we go on stage, we're in the wrong business. We no. If I say anything to my guys before we go on stage, rarely do I even see them before we go on stage. I'm up on the bus getting ready and stuff, and I usually push it right up to the time when I'm supposed to go on stage. And by the time I get to the stage, they're already out there, and it's, we don't even talk to each other before we go on stage. We get together at sound check and talk about what we need to talk about and what I'm thinking about doing that night. And that's when we get all that stuff done. And then we just hit the stage and execute, and, no, we don't do any of those pre-show ritual things. I don't know. I can't. I've always thought that was comical when people do that stuff. But to each his own. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Trace, do you have a show in your mind that stands out where you're performing and it was either the venue was awesome or the crowd was awesome? Do you have like a favorite show that's close to your heart?
Wow. That's the first thing that popped into my mind was Carnegie Hall.
Mm.
It's just such an iconic venue. And I remember that Saturday night when the Grand Ole Opry took the show for the first time in history to a different venue on a Saturday night. And we did it at Carnegie Hall, and it was just surreal. That was the first thing that popped into my head. But, the other shows that I really remember because of the venue or the crowd have been those USO shows. I mean, that's when you are in a combat zone and doing a show, the venue and the audience is just, you're never going to have another experience like that. And for anybody that's ever done a USO show in a situation like that, they know what I'm talking about.
Other than your shows, have you ever been to a show that you were kind of standing there backstage, side stage, front of house, that you were watching that show and you were getting goosebumps watching it?
Every legend that I've ever performed with, that's what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Don Williams, that was at a variety attraction show that we did in Ohio. I remember standing on the side of the stage for Don Williams' entire show. I did it with Merle Haggard many times. I would plant myself right over there, usually by the monitor console on stage, and just stay there, sit down back there, and just stay for his whole show. Actually, the last time that I played with Haggard, we were in California doing an outdoor fair, and it was the first time that I recall he went on before I did, and it really bothered me. And so I went over to his bus full show, and I said, "Hack, I don't like this." And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, you going on before me, it just doesn't sit right with me." And he said, "Oh, son, it's gravity, you'll get it someday. Don't worry about it." And so he was supposed to do an hour or whatever, and he went out on stage, and I think he did 4 songs, and then he said that the dry wind that was blowing, onto the stage was drying his throat out, and he wasn't going to be able to continue. And he said, "I'm going to turn it over to Trace." And he saw me over there by the monitor console, and then he just walked over there to me and he said, "The difference between me and you," he said, "I'm still going to get paid." And then he just walked off the stage, and I thought, yeah, that's right. And he was basically telling me, "You go out there and do 4 songs and see if you get paid."
Yeah.
So.
Trace, Todd was kind of telling us, Justine and I, some stories about spending time with you. And one of the ones that was really interesting to us really had nothing to do with music or touring or anything like that. But this was really interesting that you're a big history buff and you would spend time on the bus watching the History Channel and things like that. Kind of tell us about that.
Yeah, I always have been a history buff. My granddaddy that I told you at the very beginning that was the spitting image of George Moffett, or vice versa. When I was a little kid, I just remember, he sat and told me stories about his granddaddy, and it just piqued my interest as a child. That I was, history just fascinated me, and it's carried on through my entire life. And I've been an avid reader and student of history, and I don't know. It's just always been a passion of mine.
I mean, is there
and doing what we do has afforded me the opportunity to go to a lot of historic sites in this country. Where we pull into a city and we've got all day. So usually I'll go out and see what there is to see, and usually it's something historic. I'm not going to go to the new mall.
or go see the largest ball of string.
I don't know. I might go see that.
As far as history goes, I mean, what's your wheelhouse? What's your go-to point in history?
Civil War. It's always been about that, because like my granddaddy was telling me stories about his grandfather who was actually in the war, and showed me letters that he had written home. He had copies of 26 letters that his grandfather had written home while he was in the war, and it was just unbelievable to look at those and just hold them in your hand, and it was just fascinating. And that period in our history is, people try to compare some of the issues and strife that we're dealing with these days to that period in our history, but you just can't. I mean, you can't. I mean, in this over dramatized, world that we live in today, people try to say this is the worst thing we've ever been through, and they're just completely ignorant to the truth.
Have you ever participated in a reenactment?
No, I've never gone that far. I just like to, read about it, and the battles, and it's just fascinating.
Never really wanted to fire a cannon?
Oh, I wish I had a cannon. Yeah, I'd love to have a cannon.
You could probably
Hank Jr.'s
rig one
got
up.
4 of them. I think he ought to sell me one.
Yeah, and I mean, you could clear a lot of woods with a couple good cannons.
That's a good toy for grandchildren, ain't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have one when I was a kid. That would have been bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Light this. Well, Trace, we really appreciate your time today and joining us on our podcast. We love talking to you and, sharing different times in your life and your interests and experiences and things like that. And we really, really appreciate all the kind words about Variety Attractions. And, it's been fun today.
Well, like I said, I have had a long, fruitful association with Variety Attractions, and Todd Bolton is one of my favorite human beings. So, and George Moffett, it goes without saying, has been one of the central figures in my career, and I will always be grateful and appreciative. And I hope that he knows that. I believe he does. And good luck with your podcast. And I like I said, I love the title of it. Where's Catering? That'll be the first thing I say when we eventually get back on the bus.
All right. Thanks for your time, Trace.
Thanks so much.
Okay. See you.
Thanks for joining us backstage, and visit Justine and I at varietyattractions.com.
Get your backstage pass and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Which Way Is Catering with Justine and Bruce, served up by Variety Attractions, celebrating 60 years of entertainment excellence.
Find out how you can take advantage of their expertise in consulting, talent buying, production, and marketing services for your next event at VarietyAttractions.com.